know that Rob was beating on the door.
Mm.
And it was like hard pounding.
Mm.
And Larry jumped up and went to the door, and Rob burst in and started screaming, they took her, they really took her.
Mm.
And we got him to slow down, and he told us a little bit. We all jumped into my car. I don't know if Rob did or not. Larry and I jumped into my car. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And we went up by the phone booth. Her car was still there.
Mm.
Police by that time had surrounded it.
If you like what you see here today, please consider subscribing. And if you could give this video a thumbs up, that is always greatly appreciated.
Live guest on a podcast called J is for Justice.
I think they just hope that she returns no matter what. Oh my God, that's Megan's house. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And then, wait a second, you guys. We have breaking news.
All of a sudden in the chat, there was breaking news that there was a raid going on in Houston, Texas.
Is it maybe connected to a high-profile case?
That's her best friend.
Welcome to J is for Justice. I am your host, Ray. Subscribe if you are new here, hit that like button, and let us know your thoughts and theories on this case in the comment section below. Angela Marie Hammond was born on February 9th, 1971 in Kansas City, Missouri to Marcia and Chris Hammond. Those close to her called her Angie. To many, she was sweet, intelligent, and full of life. She was very energetic and could light up a room with her personality and smile. At 4 years of age, the Hammond family decided to move an hour and 15 minutes southeast to a little town called Clinton. Clinton was a farming community, but everyone pretty much knew each other. Shortly after the move, the family welcomed a baby boy. Angie was so excited to be a big sister. A little over a year later, her parents divorced, but they remained civil and made sure the kids had a loving and stable childhood. After graduating high school, Angie worked at Citizens Union Bank, which is now called Hawthorne Bank. She worked as a night processor. She also took some classes at Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg, but eventually she disenrolled. In November of 1990, 19-year-old Angie met and fell in love with 18-year-old Rob Schaefer, who was a star athlete in high school and had aspirations of joining the military. In January of 1991, the couple found out they were pregnant. Ecstatic about starting a family, Rob and Angie became engaged. Their relationship flourished, and they were excited for their future. Tragically, that would never come to be. On Thursday, April 4th, 1991, Angie, Rob, and Angie's best friend Kyla attended a family barbecue at Angie's mother's house in Montrose. A little after 9 p.m., the trio went back to Clinton so Rob could babysit his younger brother. They got to the house around 10 p.m. They planned on meeting up after Rob was done babysitting. After dropping Rob off, Angie and Kyla cruised around town and caught up with each other. Around 11:15 p.m., Angie called Rob from a payphone at the Food Barn supermarket, which was about 7 blocks from where Rob was at. Since Angie did not have a home phone, she wanted to let him know she had a great night but was exhausted and was going to head home and soak in a hot bath. The couple spoke for about 30 minutes. During the conversation, Angie alerted Rob of a suspicious man circling the block in an older model two-tone Ford pickup truck. She told him the truck was green with a white top, and that there was a mural on the back window of the truck of a fish jumping out of water. The couple continued their conversation for a few short minutes, until the suspicious man parked the vehicle next to the payphones. The man exited the truck and went inside the empty payphone booth next to Angie. Angie described the filthy bearded man to Rob, stating he was wearing dirty overalls and glasses. The suspicious man left the payphone booth and went back to his truck, grabbed the flashlight, and acted like he was looking for something in or around the vehicle. Angie asked the man if he needed to use the phone she was on, wondering if the phone was broken next to her. The man said no and that he was going to try again later. Rob volunteered to come down to the payphones, but Angie said no and that she was going to eventually head home. Moments later, Rob heard a blood-curdling scream, a man saying I didn't need to use the phone anyway, and the phone line going dead. Panicked, Rob dropped the phone, rushed to his car, and drove towards the location. Close to the location of the payphones, Rob recognized the pickup truck going the opposite direction of him at a high rate of speed. When the truck passed him, he heard Angie scream his name. He quickly threw his car into reverse and pursued the truck for about 2 miles. Eventually, the pickup truck made a sharp right turn on West Culvert Drive. And as Rob attempted to turn down the same road, his car stalled out. Unknowingly, Rob damaged the transmission of his car when he threw it into reverse to turn around. He got out of his vehicle and watched the taillights of the truck diminish into the dark. Rob went to the police station shortly after midnight and told the police every detail he could remember. He shared with them the man was driving a late 60s or early 70s green two-tone Ford F-150 with a white top. The truck also had minor damage to the left side front fender. Rob also described the truck having the fishing scene on the rear window and that the truck's license plates may have the letters XY on it. He also described the driver being a white male between 20 and 35 years of age, medium built, and had dark collared length hair. He stated the man was wearing dirty overalls, a dark colored baseball hat, eyeglasses, and he had a full beard with a mustache. Horrified and in shock of learning about Angie's abduction, the community rallied together, plastering missing poster signs of Angie all over town. Hundreds of volunteers and policemen conducted a massive air and land search in hopes of finding her or any signs of her. They combed through the woods, fields, and creek beds. Sadly, nothing turned up. In the beginning, law enforcement was skeptical of Rob and his story, claiming it seemed a little too convenient. They also couldn't find any witnesses to corroborate his story. Rob passed a polygraph test, and during the investigation, they learned Rob's car did have extensive damage to the transmission, which lined up to the story he had given police. He was cleared within a week of the investigation. The information on the pickup truck was ran through a database from Clinton, neighboring counties, and Missouri State Highway Patrol. Around 1,600 potential registered pickup trucks populated. However, police were not able to connect any of them to Angie's case. 2 days after they cleared Rob, police claimed they had made a connection to Angie's abduction to 2 other unsolved cases within a 100-mile radius of Clinton. One of the cases included 42-year-old Trudy Darby, who was nearing the end of her night shift at the K&D convenience store in Max Creek on January 19, 1991. Around 10 p.m. that night, she noticed 2 strange men lingering around the front entrance of the store. She called her son and asked him to come down there. About 15 minutes later, her son arrived to the store, discovering his mother was nowhere to be found. 2 days later, her body was discovered 12 miles south near the Little Niawanga River. She had been raped and shot in the head twice. The other case happened on February 27th that same year. 30-year-old wife and mother of 2, Cheryl Ann Kenny, was last seen working the night shift at the Quality convenience store in Nevada. Business was slow that night, so she decided to close up shop early. The store was found locked, and her white Chevrolet was discovered in the parking lot, indicating she had more than likely been abducted before getting into her car. Her time card showed she had clocked out at 10 p.m. and set the store's security alarms around 10:17 p.m. She has not been seen since. In 1994, 2 half-brothers, Jess Rush and Marvin Chaney, were arrested and charged for the abduction, rape, and murder of Trudy Darby after Jess had confessed and bragged to his friends about what he and his brother had done to her. While incarcerated, he confessed to other inmates about other rapes and murders him and his brother had committed throughout the years. He mentioned dumping bodies of 2 other women in remote locations. Marvin Chaney denied being involved with his brother in any of these crimes. His wife was his alibi on the night Trudy was murdered. However, she eventually recanted her statement, claiming she lied to law enforcement because she was afraid of him. Marvin Chaney pled guilty to the murder and kidnapping of Darby. Both brothers were served life sentences. In 2017, Marvin Chaney died in prison and was never charged in any other cases aside from Darby's. To this day, law enforcement believes the brothers might be connected to Angela and Cheryl's cases. Many people have speculated of other potential suspects, though, throughout the years. One potential suspect, who is serving a life sentence on a federal kidnapping charge, is a man named Larry Dwayne Hall. He was a Civil War reenactor who traveled to many states, including Missouri, Illinois, and his home state of Indiana around the time of the disappearances. While he's never been charged with murder, it's been suggested he could be connected to the infamous Springfield 3 case. When pressed during an interview, Hall commented on 5 women he murdered, claiming 3 were from Springfield and 2 others were from small towns, but he couldn't remember the names of the towns. One contradiction to Hall being a suspect in Angie's case is that he drove a van and not a pickup truck. However, many people have argued that he could have borrowed or could have stolen the truck. Another person many people have suspected over the years is a man named Kenneth McDuff, who was convicted of murdering 3 teenagers in the 60s in Everman, Texas. He was given 3 death sentences that were eventually reduced to life imprisonment. In 1989, he was paroled, and from 1991 to 1992, he went on to kill 5 more people. An accomplice to one of his murders, he confessed to police and a warrant was issued for McDuff's arrest. He was eventually caught in Kansas City, Missouri under a fake name and was executed in 1998. The reason why many people believe McDuff could possibly be a suspect in Angie's case is because he was living in Kansas City, Missouri at the time she was abducted. Another person people have suspected over the years is a man named Tommy Lynn Sells, who was nicknamed the Coast to Coast Killer because he hitchhiked across the country, sometimes picking up odd jobs. Sells was convicted for 1 murder, but authorities believe he may have committed a total of 22 murders around the United States. He did work in Missouri for a short period of time, and police believe he is linked to another cold case in Springfield. While these potential suspects do share some similarities regarding Angie's case, no arrests have ever been made. Through the years, there have been many reported sightings of Angie that sadly lead to nowhere. Friends and family have never given up on finding out what happened to Angie or where she could be. Her mother went on Oprah to share her story, and in 1992, Unsolved Mysteries featured Angie's case in a segment in hopes of someone coming forward. At the time of Angie's disappearance, she was 4'11" and weighed about 120 to 140 pounds. Keep in mind she was 4 months pregnant. She's described as having red hair, brown eyes, and a scar on her upper lip. Angie would be turning 50 this coming February, and if not found, this coming April 4th, 2021, will mark 30 years since she was last seen by her family and friends. If you have any information on Angela Marie Hammond's case, no matter how small it is, please call the Clinton Police Department at 660-885-2679.
Know that Rob was beating on the door. And it was like hard pounding. And Larry jumped up and went to the door. And Rob burst in and started screaming, "They took her. They took her. They really took her." And we got him to slow down. And he told us a little bit. We all jumped into my car. I don't know if Rob did or not. Larry and I jumped into my car. I know that. And we went up by the phone booth. Her car was still there. Police by that time had surrounded it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to J is for Justice. I am your host, Jay.
And I'm your other co-host, Dre.
If you like what you see here today, please consider subscribing. And if you could give this video a thumbs up, that is always greatly appreciated.
5 guests on a podcast called J is for Justice.
I think they're just hopeful that she returns no matter what. Oh my God, that's Megan's house. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And then, wait a second, you guys. We have breaking news. All the
a sudden in the chat, there was breaking news that there was a raid going on in Houston, Texas.
It says it may be connected to a high-profile case.
That's her best friend.
How long were you friends prior? When did you guys first meet?
Oh, we met quite a while before we actually became friends so much. So I knew her somewhere in grade school. She was a grade ahead of me. So, I mean, I knew her quite a bit longer than what we were friends. My late sophomore going into the junior year is when we became really good friends. People would, think we were sisters because we would finish this and we looked just enough alike that you could kind of mistake us. So we would laugh because neither one of us, for our parents, I don't think our moms really liked the other one, because it was always, I'm a bad influence or she was a bad influence, depending on.
I had a friend like that too.
So great, because really we were doing more of just getting ourselves in trouble together. It wasn't about one of us being a bad influence.
Right. You were both in it up to your eyeballs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there was no mistaking. It was the two of us.
Oh, that's a special friendship. It's you're lucky to have had that. A lot of people don't have that, So you guys got close in the beginning of high school and then you graduated. And
in fact, I was just looking at of Angie. She was helping me with my my hair and my graduation gown. What's that called?
Like your cap and gown?
Cap and gown, yeah. She was helping with that. So I had that picture pulled up just a little bit ago.
Aww.
One of my favorite pictures. It's like we both look so good.
Yeah.
Full on late 80s hair. That was even better.
So what year did you guys graduate?
She graduated in 89. I graduated in 90.
Okay. I was 91. So I was right after you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that time. I just, I think back, it's crazy because I never heard of this case at all. And I was watching Unsolved Mysteries just a couple months ago when I reached out to you. I went back and I was just watching old episodes, and that one came on and I called Dre and I was like, this is crazy. This is so sad. Like her boyfriend, the whole story, it was creepy. It was sad. It was all of those things. And it made me wonder, I wonder where everybody is now. With something unresolved like that, I get curious. So then I looked, and I saw you on Facebook and I was like, oh my God, I'd love to talk to her and just see how she is. And not really even just the case, but just, just what you guys went through with that. It had to have been like life-changing for you at that age too.
Oh, it definitely was. So there was a lot going on. I know Unsolved Mysteries did a show. I don't know what all they told. I don't know what all has really been out.
Didn't say much because I didn't know she was pregnant and living with Rob. They left that out.
She wasn't living with Rob.
Oh, okay. I read that they were renting a trailer or something.
Well, she was, and not that we all didn't stay there. Rob was still living at home.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that part. But yeah, take me back. So you guys graduate and then you move on to do what? What was going on?
I actually, Angie went to, at that time it was CMSU in Warrensburg, to college. And of course I finished high school, and the year after she graduated, I was in senior year. And then whenever I graduated, I moved up here to Kansas City and was going to Longview Community College. But I was driving home every weekend to Angie's house. And, you know, I had my boyfriend there, and I don't know, we both had our boyfriends. We were both all in it together. One of the things that I think about now that really cracks me up is when Angie and I were together, it didn't matter if our boyfriends were there, they were backseaters. We're always front seaters. And most of the time Angie was driving. She's just much better at that than I was.
So the guys were doing their thing, talking their guy talk, and the girls were together. That's fun. Yeah. Fun memories.
You know, we'd have the music playing extremely loud and singing. And
you were in a small town, right?
We hung out in Clinton, and the trailer where she lived was in Clinton, which isn't so small. But yeah, the town where we both grew is really small. It's less than 500 people.
But that's not where it happened. It happened in Clinton.
No, Clinton is where, and Clinton is kind of where we always went to hang out. And just, you know, we had our friends there. We had, I'm trying to think of all the people, Chris and Deanna, and can't think of all of them. But yeah, I mean,
it's been a long time.
We would go out to trailer parties where, you know, at that time I think it was Dirty Dancing was out and pretty big, so we were all dirty dancing. Of course, I look at pictures of myself now, and I look in the mirror now, and I'm like, that had to have been really cute.
We all have our moments. We all have our moments, Kylie. Trust me, I have pictures from spring break in that era, and it's not pretty. It's really not pretty at all. It's like, oh boy. But yeah, so you guys are just having fun. You're going to college and just living the 19, 20-year-old life, right?
Exactly. Angie had stopped going to college, and she was working at the bank. It was more of like a processing of the checks.
Oh, okay.
I just know that there was her and one of there, and like they were in a little room and they ran the checks
like at the end of the day type thing.
Yeah, like for stuff to hit statements and things like that, I guess.
I guess that was when people did those things.
Right?
Exactly. So, you know, you have to remember that this was 90s, and there's a lot of what we have now. Cell phones, you know, that's payphone. Yep. She was in a
I remember having a pager at that time and having to find a payphone to call your friend back. That was our mode of like reaching someone when you weren't home. That was it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we didn't even have pagers at that time. That's how unsophisticated we were. Had to get a plan before we left to meet up again and when.
Yeah. So she didn't even have a home phone.
No.
She's working. Okay, so she's working at the bank. And she's dating Rob. And did you get along with Rob? You liked Rob?
I did. So that's the other thing. And this person isn't mentioned in a lot of things, but she wasn't dating him, but he had been a previous love and very much still in her life, in my life, Bill.
Oh, I did read about Bill last night, actually. I
read about him too, yeah.
He was actually a suspect for a little bit. So they said. I mean,
Bill, I think Rob, I think everybody at some point.
Everybody was, yeah.
Has been a suspect. They tried to tell me that I lied on my lie detector test, and I'm like,
you're kidding. Oh,
no.
Wow. I can't wait to hear more about that. So Bill was also around and still a good friend of hers.
Oh, yeah.
And Rob was cool with that? Like,
I don't know how much Rob knew that Bill was still as involved as he was.
So do you think she still loved Bill?
I know she did.
Really?
Yeah.
He was
I mean,
like her first true love.
maybe not the first one, but yeah.
And go Angie. She was cute. She was cute.
Todd was her first true love, I do think. But they had broken up long before Angie and I really started hanging out in Clinton and things like that. So I think Todd had her heart first, but Bill definitely got it second.
Wow. Do you still talk to any of the guys?
I talk to Bill every now and then, and Rob has reached out. I guess it's been a couple of years ago now, maybe closer to 5. He went through a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to talk more about that too, because that's what I was curious about, I think, was when I saw the story and I wondered where you guys all were and how you were doing, because my son is 22 and it's a different situation, but it's not. Like, he's an accident survivor. So his girlfriend died and he lived, and he's lived forever with that. Like, since it happened when he was 16, he has that survivor's guilt and all these different emotions. I mean, he struggles. So I get it. Like, I thought about Rob seriously when I first heard the story. I was like, I wonder how he's doing, because I wonder how my son will be doing in 20, 30 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My thing is, and I get the survivor's guilt, because I was in that same phone booth probably the week before, if not just a couple of days before, talking to my boyfriend on the phone up there all by myself, consequently on her mother's calling card at that time.
Some more shenanigans.
Oh, bad. We were bad. We get, till one of them would shut it off. So we'd either use my mom's or her mom's, and then it'd get shut off because the bill would be outrageous.
Sounds very familiar.
The home phone. But somebody who has been taken is so different than somebody who has died.
Yeah. You have that closure.
You do. And in this case, you don't.
No.
And I think that's been the hardest part for me, is there absolutely is no closure. You don't have a face to put with who you should hate. You're just kind of out there lost.
You have no one to blame. You don't know who.
No one.
Crazy.
You can look at 100 different people and wonder if that's the one.
Yeah.
That's terrifying too.
It is, and things will still pop into your head. Or at least for me, they do to this day. It turns into one of those, did I miss something? Did I see something that I didn't realize that I saw? Did we, because there was Stan, the construction guy, but that was Tan with an S, that we stopped on the side of the road because he was working construction, and told him how sexy he was. One of those. So, was Stan, or Tan with an S, the person. I know that I gave all that information to the police, so I know that Stan is not, or he's been cleared, because but at the same time, is it, who should I be scared of? And should I still be scared?
It must have been hard to be in that town, not knowing who did it and if they were lurking around.
Yeah. Like going to the grocery store and thinking, like, could this be the person? Like, after
that's
the
really
description. Yeah.
I didn't stay long after that.
I don't blame you.
I couldn't. Nothing was the same.
Yeah.
So I would have, horrible nightmares, and I would try to go and hang out with the people that we always hung out with. Well, it wasn't even the same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I didn't fit in anymore because it wasn't me and Angie.
Yeah.
Gosh. So your whole circle of friends even felt different and not the same. Your whole life was turned upside down.
Exactly.
Wow. It's a lot.
And it wasn't, let's see, April 4th. So probably by May, beginning of June, I found out that I was expecting also.
Oh my
and
God.
it was just one of those. But what was funny was before, and I don't know, maybe a week before it all happened, her and I both knew that I was pregnant, but no pregnancy test would show up. And so we would talk about our babies are going to be best friends. So, I mean, that was one of those, yet another, hurt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge, I mean, that would have been a huge thing for you guys to share together, like that would have like bonded your friendship into that next chapter of your lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our babies were going to be best friends. We just knew it.
Gosh.
So not long after that, I moved away. I went to Colorado and lived out there that's where my daughter was born.
Oh, where at in Colorado?
I lived in, towards the end, I lived in Golden, Westminster.
Okay.
So you moved out to Colorado and had your first daughter?
Uh-huh. Yeah. In fact, her middle name is Angie's middle name.
Aw, that's sweet.
Brianna Marie.
That's
so
sweet.
Yeah, that was probably the roughest time in my life. And then her growing up, I kind of feel sorry for her. She didn't get the real childhood that a lot of kids get. We weren't going to go to the park. She couldn't really be out of my sight or I'd freak out. And over the years, Brianna has got to witness even more of that. Like, we were at one of her competitions when she was in high school, and I didn't have my second daughter until Brianna was 11. So Brianna was in high school. She was doing a color guard or a winter guard competition. And my second daughter, Jaden, who was like 3 or 4, went over to throw something in the trash, and this crowd of people came out and flooded. I couldn't see her. And I lost my mind. And it was Brianna that knew how to calm me down.
Aw.
So, I feel bad for her because she never really got kind of the childhood that some kids get.
But you know what? She learned a lot. And I'm sure you guys have a really close relationship because of it.
Oh, we do. She's 29 now. So she's a neat person. And she knows all about Angie. She knows all about her. She called her Aunt Angie for a long time.
I love that. Aww. Were you with her the night that she was taken?
I was.
You were the last one with her, right?
Yeah, we dropped Rob off at his house. He was going to go watch his little brother.
How old was his little brother? Was he a baby?
No, he was like in later elementary.
Okay. Gotcha. I thought about that because I thought about when Rob left. I was thinking, how old was the little brother that he, because he obviously left in a hurry. But so he was going to babysit for his parents or his mother or something.
Yeah, his mom asked him to watch his little brother, which I kind of want to say like his brother is like 7 years younger than him. There. So we dropped him off because, well, the funny part is going back to what I had said before, I remember getting out of the car so that I could lean the seat up so he could get out.
Because he was in the back in the cheap seats.
So he got out, and her and I went uptown on the square.
Now, what was that? Is that the downtown area, or?
Yeah, it's truly a square. So the courthouse sits in the middle, and literally we would do anywhere from 100 to 300 miles a night going in a square. Occasionally we'd have to take off down a side road so that we could go potty. But yeah, we put a lot of miles on the car going absolutely nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember those days. Driving all night, nowhere to go,
Exactly.
Music.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were listening to music. Chances are we were drinking. So we didn't really do any of the things that like you think of normal teens doing. Like, we didn't smoke weed. We didn't try any of the drugs. We drank a ton, and we drank really hard stuff. It was usually Everclear.
Dang, you guys weren't messing around.
No, we weren't messing around. And we just hung out. I mean, we had such a good time. Like I said, we would go up, cruise the square. You'd pull in because people would pull in and start talking. So you'd see a group of your friends, you'd pull in, start talking. And then before long, you'd have a party organized, and you'd pick somebody's house, and off everybody would go to that house.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's what we were doing that night. Even we were cruising, and Larry, who had come into town because he was staying down by Lake of the Ozarks. He had come into town, and I saw him up there. So we pulled in and hung out with him for a while. And I ended up actually going back to his brother's house with him.
Oh, okay. So you hopped in with him, and then she was going to go home or go to Rob's.
She was going to go call Rob, which the phone booth, it wasn't
normal.
It wasn't out of the ordinary at all. I know that's where I sat. I mean, we would even, being as short as we both are, and she was shorter than me. They always had that little part, a ledge kind of thing. And if you held yourself just right and scaled the wall, you could actually put your butt on that and the glass on the other side. And we would sit there like that.
Just get comfortable and talk.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like you were sitting at home on your bed. Maybe not as comfortable, but yeah.
That phone booth was in just a traveled area of the town, just right there on the square.
It's a block off of the square.
Okay, a block off.
Yeah, I mean, like literally one block off of the square.
Wow. And this was at what time of night that she parted ways from you?
11 something.
I have no idea.
Is that what they said, Dre? Around 11ish?
Yeah, they said 11:15, but I said, it's so weird.
That's still pretty early. I mean, there was probably still kids driving around, hanging out, right?
And it's warm. It's April, spring.
Oh yeah, there was
Thursday night.
Kids driving around, hanging out.
It was a Thursday night, was it?
Yeah, Thursday.
Wow, weird.
It wasn't as busy as it would have been up there, like on a weekend, of course.
On a weekend, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was still plenty of people up there.
Did you ever feel unsafe at that phone booth? Did you ever feel like, oh God, this is there's no one really around, or there's not really any cars, like this is kind of creepy? Never felt that way?
Never. It was a grocery store parking lot. I don't think the grocery store was really necessarily open at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was those businesses that was going out.
So there was 3 booths lined up in a row? Is that how it went?
I only remember
There was
Yeah, I think
two.
it was just two because I
Okay,
think
two.
Angie was, if you were looking at the phone booth and the store was behind you, Angie was in the first like left one, and the right one was the empty one,
Uh-huh.
right at that
Okay.
corner.
Yeah, because we never used the one that faced the square.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the only way I can think of it. Yeah, we never faced the square. We always faced, it was more like not necessarily the grocery store, but it was more of that direction that we faced.
Gotcha. Okay.
Was
Now,
this?
was
Go
there
ahead, go.
houses? Oh, sorry.
No,
Was
go
there
ahead.
houses around that area, like around the phone booth? Was there like
question.
residents?
No.
There wasn't. Okay.
No, the houses were another block over.
Okay.
I mean, there might be one or two houses on
But
that.
there wasn't like a lot of residents where people would be driving in and out of their driveways.
Oh,
near
no.
the area.
No, these are old, large homes that, no, people, I mean, I never really saw people go in or out of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is there any other was there any other businesses around where the grocery store was? Do you remember? I know it's been a long time.
I'd say that there was a bank across the street, but it
That
might
wasn't
not have.
her bank, was it?
No,
That she worked at?
another block farther down, which also was one block off of the square. So
Everything just is right off this square.
Around that square.
Yeah.
you know, it across from, I think it was called Circle K at that time. Her bank was across from Circle K. So they were a block from the Circle K. So the phone booth area, it wasn't super lit up. The street light was there. There was a few little lights up towards the entrance of the grocery store, but I don't remember any, like street lights in the parking lot kind of thing. If there was,
picture that. I can picture that dimly lit, just maybe from the store. Yeah.
Yeah. If there was probably, one like in the middle, and that's an if. Couldn't tell you now.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then,
so she's like, all right, I'm going to go call Rob and I'll see you later. Just see you later. And then.
Yeah. And we would meet up the next day. And so I went back to Larry's place. We'll just call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And and I exactly what time, but I know that Rob was beating on the door. And it was like hard pounding. And Larry jumped up and went to the door, and Rob burst in and started screaming, they took her, they really took her. And we got him to slow down, and he told us a little bit. We all jumped into my car. I don't know if Rob did or not. Larry and I jumped into my car. I know that. And we went up by the phone booth. Her car was still there. Police by that time had surrounded it. We shot off down some side streets thinking maybe we'll see something. We drove the route that Rob told us he had gone and shot off of some streets that way. We went down, it's called Ducks Unlimited. No, I am wrong. Like Duck Road or something. Ducks Unlimited. It was over in the park by like the little lake part, and military, like the little military thing was there. So we drove down in there. We drove all around in there. We we drove out 18 highway and circled back around into Clinton through 18. We just drive around.
So when Rob came over, who had brought him over?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. What I know is Rob was beating on the door.
And you guys were just like in frantic mode, like
both fists. Yeah,
dang.
and whenever you get a panic call like that, you don't think rationally. You don't stop and go,
wait a minute. Yeah, you don't think about anything.
Like let's work through this. This isn't rational. This doesn't make sense. Kind of thing. I remember discussing with Larry, anybody who went this way and then the way that Rob said that they turned, you could literally get lost in that little area and out to any highway. I mean, it wouldn't have taken you long.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, I always kind of feel like they had to have known where they were going.
So they weren't like out of state or
like out of towners. Yeah.
Like a transient or something.
Oh, couldn't have been because if you were to look at this road, and I can see looking down that straightaway. And I can't think of the name of the
I was
street.
just going to ask if you remembered the name of the road.
I know Ohio crosses it, but that's it. And really sad thing, I was a 911 dispatcher there for about 5 years.
Were you really?
So you would think that I would know all of those streets, but I don't. I can remember Ohio. That's the one I know.
So Rob came over and said, "Oh my God, I was on the phone with her," told you guys the story?
No. The basic words that I remember him saying is, they took her. They really took her.
They really took her.
So he said they.
He said they. And like I said, the police were informed of all of that. Because it seemed, looking back.
Yeah.
It's looking back now. That seems odd. That seems like an odd statement.
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, you're just like, oh my God, who? We got to find her.
Yeah. Who's, yeah.
But at the same time, in a panicked situation like that, maybe that I kind of understand it too.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he said they. He was just thinking they took her,
yeah.
And he's panicked.
Yeah, because he doesn't know who.
No. I mean, she described a man to him. Yeah. She described the fish scene.
So yeah, she was very descriptive with him because she was freaked out.
Yeah. She felt a little odd.
And it seemed like she was giving him the step-by-step of what was going on. This weird truck keeps driving by. At first it seemed like it started out with, oh, this truck keeps going by.
Circling the block.
And he was like, oh, what does it look like? And she told him, she described the mural on the back. I mean, she was very descriptive.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a truck you wouldn't normally see. It's not like, oh, it was a black pickup.
No, but I mean, that kind of truck was fairly common.
Yeah. In Missouri.
Yeah. In Missouri in general. But also, I mean, for any, especially 30s and under age group with no money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody that couldn't really afford a new car or new truck kind of thing, but had an older one and had maybe fixed by
maybe that fishing mural was put on there when they bought the truck, as something they updated it with.
I know that was kind of the older trucks were very common.
Yeah.
Hell, most of the people on the square had them.
Yeah.
But we none of them had a fishing mural.
And
That
she,
was,
and
like-
so then he ends up pulling into the parking lot, and she says, "Oh, he's pulling in," and then and then Rob asks, like, "Do you want me to come up there?" And she says, "No, it's okay. I think he's just using the phone or something."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then,
But she tells Rob he looks dirty,
and he has,
disheveled.
I think she said he had on overalls.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked her a question at one point,
And
and
she stayed on the phone with Rob this whole time.
whole time, because in one of the reports from Rob, he heard the guy saying, "I didn't need to use the phone," and that's when she was gone.
Oh my God.
At one point, didn't she ask him, "Do you need to use this phone?" Because she thought that one might not be working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said no. And then he went and was looking in his truck with a
grabbed
flashlight.
Yep.
So then Rob hears this go on, right? He hears her scream or whatever took place. And this man says, "I didn't need to use the phone." He hears that. He immediately leaves the house, jumps in his car. He had a car or a truck?
He had a truck.
He had a truck. He jumps in his truck and he's driving from his parents to the payphones. How far is that?
5 or 6 blocks going north on that street.
He could be there within 5 minutes.
Oh, should have, yeah, easily.
Easily 5 minutes. So he's on his way there. He passes the truck that she described going the opposite direction.
Yeah. And I don't think that they were very far from the phone booth when he passed.
My God.
That's how close. That's how close.
Wow.
And had the person pulled out and continued going north, never would have passed by Rob at all.
So the way they pulled out, Kyla, did it make sense that he just pulled out going the direction he was parked? Or did he deliberately go that direction, do you think? Like the way the roads are set up?
So from what I have pictured in my mind, because I don't know exactly where he parked. So there was an exit. I figure he pulled up. So the back end of the truck was probably closest to Angie, because the other phone booth would have been right there. So there was an exit out of the parking lot straight ahead of him. But
And that led to that road?
No, that's the weird thing. And just me thinking, you would have left out that exit and went right. He left out that exit, went left. There's a stoplight right there. And then made another left.
He knew where he was going.
Yeah. That sounds like he knew where he was going. Oh
Because if you're trying to get away quickly, you're not making left-hand turns
and go into a light. You're going to avoid that light and get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy, because that guy knew she was on the phone with somebody who just heard what happened. So whoever she was talking to knew. And he didn't know how, unless he did know who she was and who Rob was, he didn't know how close this person that was on the phone was.
Couldn't have known. And now I also need you to know that, at that time, the light started flashing at a certain hour.
So he wasn't stuck at a red light.
No, he wasn't stuck at a red light.
So he could just go if there was nobody coming. Oh my gosh.
11 p.m., the lights went to flashing yellows.
Let me ask you this. If he had turned right, he would never have passed Rob, right?
No.
They would have just been gone. He would have never seen him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
If he would have made a right out of the parking lot, never would have seen him. If he would have gone to the same light, even by making a left and then a right, never would have seen him.
Wow.
And if he would have turned left out of the parking lot, went straight through the light, would have taken him up by the square. Well, would have taken him to the square.
He didn't want to go to the square.
He knew to avoid that area because some people would have seen that truck with that mural.
Yeah. Wow. So was there any other cars in the vicinity besides Rob that saw the truck?
Not that I know of. I heard at one point that some ladies were taking their lunch break and they had gone up to the grocery store to see if they were open and mentioned seeing the truck. But like I said, that grocery store was in the midst of closing down for good. So they weren't open. I know that they tried like hypnotism on them. I don't know whatever.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was 2 ladies, and one of the things that came out was like they thought it was a red license plate.
And what would that? What were the license plates then?
Cars were red, but it would have been a car tag, or it would have been an Arizona tag.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Dang. Too bad they didn't have all those cameras on the lights then.
Cameras anywhere. Cameras
anywhere
would have been perfect.
Or
now we can't go anywhere without cameras, you know.
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't pick your nose without somebody catching that.
For real, no. So, gosh, that's just so crazy.
It's terrifying.
So Rob passes. Did Rob actually hear her scream his name? It's true.
That's what he said. He heard her scream Robbie, which, you know, I don't know how. Of course, I say this. I don't know how one person could have held her down. She wasn't gentle. Like she could wrestle you. She could pin you down pretty easily.
Yeah. And if he was the only one in the truck, he had to drive and subdue her somehow.
Mm-hmm.
The hell? What did he do?
Simply by saying that she screamed his name, so you know she wasn't gagged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she could see him, so she wasn't like having to lay down or anything. She could see out the window.
Was his truck identifiable? Like, did it look different than most trucks? Like, did he have any certain decals to the truck where she would have seen him?
He drove a really old truck too, and it was green and white striped. So I mean, yeah.
Wow.
You could have spotted that truck.
So
what he did was he turned around and he threw his car in reverse and screwed up his transmission without realizing it, and then started chasing them, and he was on their tail.
Mm-hmm. And that's how, you know, another reason why I say where he said that he turned and his truck. So maybe he was with Larry and I don't know who dropped him off, but after he was pounding on the door, maybe he was with us because we drove by his truck and it was still parked there on the up side of the hill
where it broke down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
God. I just can't imagine what he felt when his car broke down and just seeing those taillights. Just no hope, you know?
No, and so close.
So close, and just there they go. Like that had to mess him up. It had to mess him up.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I'm 100% sure. I mean,
I did reach out to Rob. I sent him a message and he didn't reply to me. So he
won't.
No.
The the last little bit of contact that I had with him, and I'm not usually very defensive about a lot of stuff, but I'll defend my babies and Angie to my dying death.
Mm-hmm.
And his girlfriend had attacked Angie on Facebook. So I may have mentioned to him to reel her in before shit got real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Angie's not here to defend herself.
Is this recently, or
He's got some young little.
why is she even talking about Angie though after all these years?
I don't know. It was something on Facebook. I don't know if it was one of my posts or what, but there was a comment and it was from her or somebody that had logged into her account that said something about ugly Angie. And I
Wow.
mind
Mm-mm.
like that, you know, back in that time, you know, like you didn't say I love you to your girlfriend because it could be misconstrued. So, you know, I never really said I love you to her. And so I'll defend her now till
Absolutely. Till the end.
Yeah. I mean, she sent me my first rose.
Aww.
She was laughing at me because I had never had flowers delivered anywhere. Nobody had ever sent me flowers. So she sent me flowers at her apartment.
Aw. No, you guys had a special friendship for sure. Gosh,
Oh, yeah.
It's awful.
God, we got into some trouble. I'm sorry, but I mean, it is fun thinking back on it. You know,
I'm sure. Those carefree times, you know. I often do that too. I mean, I'm about the same. I'm probably the same age as you actually, but I started school early. But you know, I'm right in that same era with you guys, and I think that's another thing that resonated with me was when I saw that episode. I was the same age as you guys when that happened, and like that could have been one of my friends. That could have been my best friend in high school. You know.
Oh yeah. And at that time, especially in that small of an area, this didn't happen.
Right. I grew up in a small town too, and that's another thing. I remember the booth, like the one and the only one that we had in town. We had one that you could drive up to, which was awesome. Wow. Everybody wanted to get that one because you didn't have to get out. You could just sit in your car and chat all night, you know?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we didn't really have booths like you guys did. I was in Michigan and we didn't have booths, but we'd have to stand, you know, out in the open. Yeah. But there was that one drive up one that was cool. But I remember that time, and you know, now that I look back with cell phones, we were so out of touch. But then I hear this story and it's like, damn it, if only there was a little more sophistication, because nowadays that would not be unsolved.
Yeah. Exactly. Nowadays, if you're someplace and you feel uncomfortable, you snap a photo of somebody and send it to somebody. You know, so there wasn't even that option.
Yeah. It was a vulnerable time for us, but we didn't really realize it at the time, I think.
Exactly. For a long time, I've wondered, you know, what happened to the phone booths? Could they have gotten any DNA off of it?
I thought that too.
You know, where are these things?
And then, but then you have a phone booth that so many people touch.
I know.
God, and it's just like vanished without a trace. And that's just what's so eerie about it.
Well, I do have a question, because I did read, and I want to, the news is really hard for me because there's so many inconsistent stories about Angie. It's so hard because you really want to tell her story almost to 100% that you can get it from that night. And I did see that in 1999, they claimed that they had DNA evidence, but they weren't going to release it, and nothing came out of that. I was wondering if that was true, because I'm curious about the phone. Did they lift fingerprints? Because, I mean, if this happened at nighttime, could the police have gotten something off that phone?
So I don't think it had anything to do with the phone. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know, like, the years and things like that. Time has just kind of marched on, and
yeah.
it is.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because I was like, wait a minute. They claim they told like her family, her mom, Marcia, the family, like, hey, we have DNA evidence, but right now, we can't say anything. And then 2009, people were still asking, and here it is, 2020.
No answers.
No answers.
See, and I mean, Marcia calls me if something big comes up. She hasn't called me in a very long time. I still hold on to the thought that Angie's alive. My heart says that. My brain says you're probably fooling yourself. Marcia goes the other way. She doesn't want to think about, Angie living a life of pain or confinement or whatever. My heart can't let go. So I get Mom is coming from, because as a mom myself, I would probably have to do the exact same thing
to cope. Yeah. But you being her best friend and peer, you're thinking, oh my God, if she walked up to me tomorrow, this would be the best day of my life.
Exactly.
No matter what.
Exactly. I would shelter her from any storm.
Yeah.
And, but I've gotten the phone calls of, do you remember exactly what she had on? Do you remember which knee she hurt? Because at one time they had found, a leg in the Missouri River.
Oh my gosh.
She had hurt her knee. And so they were looking to see if there was scars for that knee and things like that.
Gosh. And these things just popped up out of the blue. Yeah. And that had to just trigger you right back.
Oh, it does.
To the beginning.
And I only know that because that's when my second daughter was born. And I was still home on maternity leave. An officer from the highway patrol contacted me and said he believed it was still a workable case. And he came over to my house and we went through everything. And then I never heard from him again.
Oh.
Gosh, how
frustrating. It's all that hope. It's that hope of at least getting to know her story and what happened that night. And then
you go through all that, reliving it all, and then it's just like, what happened?
Yeah.
I don't want my emotions to go there because it's a very hard place to drag myself back out of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I want her story out there. I want that one person that knows something.
Yes.
That they know something.
There's got to be somebody. And 30 years has gone by. That's a long time.
Oh yeah.
But it's not hopeless to have closure.
No,
I hope not. When JC Lee Dugard was found, that was a huge for me because it was right around the 20 some year mark and hers like 18 years. And it was just one of those, there's still a lot of hope. When they've had, different people will say different things or something comes out of prison or whatever, that somebody's heard something or said something, and so they'll bring cadaver dogs in. Marcia went out with them at one point because they were searching some old wells out on some property around Clinton. And they had the cadaver dogs all out there and things like that. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's one of those, I like to relive the happy moments in case if you guys haven't noticed.
Yeah.
For
we
sure.
don't blame you.
And talk about all the junk that we got into because, it was a fun time.
Yep. That's the best time.
And so, yeah, I've had some real rough phone calls.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you're never prepared because you don't know when those phone calls are going to come.
No. And to always be, let down at the end of it, because every time you hear something, I remember going out searching. They formed a search party at one point, not long after she had gone missing, a month, maybe a little longer. And I went on that search party. there was probably a couple hundred people that all gathered, and we all got assignments and went to our designated locations and was told, if you see anything, don't pick it up. Anything that looks out of place at all, and I remember walking through the woods and stuff, thinking I wanted to find her, but hoping I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those mixed emotions,
It is. I don't know. I still have dreams. I still talk to her. When somebody, in my family has died, I'm like, if you see Angie up there, could you tell her I said hi? And if you don't see her up there, could you help us find out where she is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's 30 years of these ups and downs and this emotional roller coaster for you.
Yeah.
How are her parents doing?
I don't talk to them a lot. Her mom and her dad were divorced a long time ago. And so she had a stepdad, and she has a half brother, Zach. And I'll stay in contact with Zach. Like, I was at a concert one night and posted it on Facebook, and he's like, I'm here. And so,
Oh, wow.
We fought through the crowd to give a big hug.
How much younger was he?
She was 16 when he was born, and we were a
horrible
influence on this young.
So he was like a little brother to you too?
Oh yeah, because I don't have any siblings. Like, he was probably 2 or 3. We would put him in the car with us and go up and cruise the square, and we would to stick his head out the window and yell, "Woo woo, pull over!"
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God! Does he remember that?
I don't know if he remembers that or not.
That's cute. That's really cute.
We were really a bad influence on this poor child, but we had a good time with him.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, 16 years difference. Wow.
Yeah,
she could have been. She was like a little mom to him, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, and whenever we would go, because her mom and stepdad went to Branson every year, and there was at least 2 years there that I went along, which was always really cool, because me and Angie would get our own hotel room, and we kind of did our own thing, even though it was supposed to be like their family vacation. And they paid for everything. And, we would take Zach, and we'd go do bumper cars or bumper boats or whatever. So yeah, it was kind of like a second little family.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing that I remember is the bumper boats, bumper cars, and I have pictures of that. We went to the mall. It was a little mall. It wasn't anything big. It was all like one level, because I have a picture of her and I, the little kiddie carousels that only have like 3 little
horses on them.
Yeah.
That are meant for toddlers.
Yeah, like the one that was in front of Kmart.
Yeah. On that. And we had to duck down to keep our head from hitting the roof of it, and rode it. We weren't letting kids on.
I actually have seen that picture. I was wondering if that was you too.
That's
us.
Oh,
you did? You saw it?
Yep.
That's us. Yeah. So, I remember doing that. I remember we were cruising the strip. We met local people there. We drove out someplace to meet them. I actually have a picture of them someplace. man, like the short haircuts with the mullets in the back was really
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
horrible.
It sounds like my spring break pictures. All
Yeah.
the guys have like mullets.
Oh my goodness.
And they're standing there next to this like little Chevy S10. and I couldn't tell you any one of them's names today.
Right. But you have a picture of them.
But I have a picture of them. We always went to Exotic Animal Paradise on the way back because Angie, there was a ram that kept ramming her car.
There was what?
So Exotic Animal Paradise is a drive-through. I don't know if it even still exists. It was a drive-through, like a zoo thing, and the animals are loose.
Oh, right.
So, and I have millions of pictures of this, like of the lions that are like making out. No, they were, because that was what we were 18, 19. That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And comical. It's comical relief.
Angie, the monkey in the cage, because there was a part where you could get out and walk through, and they had some chickens, and I kept calling them Phyllis Dillard because they looked like Phyllis
with that hat.
Yeah, and so we would follow them around and laugh, and then Angie would torture the monkey, and mostly because it would try to reach its hand out and grab stuff, and then it would grab a hold of its penis and look at her. And funny. So I remember those kind of things. I don't remember Silver Dollar City. I remember eating at a place that served your salad in a clamshell. So, I mean, and that's some of the strange things to me is I remember stupid stuff like that. But there are so many parts in my life then and now I couldn't tell you a thing about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's vivid to you.
It's extremely vivid. Yeah. I can see the clear clamshell.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's really odd to me, kind of some of the things that I can remember.
Yeah. Gosh. It's just so perplexing, like, to have someone just, I can't imagine what you guys went through, just someone just being up and gone like that and having no leads, no clue.
No answers.
No. And I couldn't even tell you who it was now. But there was one of the guys that we had hung out with that as Larry and I were driving around trying to see any sign of this truck or Angie. We were up on the square and him and a couple of other people were apparently in there, got out and said, or pulled us in and said that, hey, they're towing Angie's car. They're towing Angie's car. And we got them to looking also. We were like, we know where's she at? Have you seen her? Kind of thing. So, I mean, there was tons of people looking even that night.
My thought is that truck went in that area that you said, knew where they were going and got out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Because that truck was never seen again in that town.
No.
By anybody.
No.
There was no sightings, I read there was some report of her living in Canada, but it ended up not being her.
Yeah, there's just a lot of sightings.
Yeah, just all these crazy sightings. But that truck was never seen driving around that area again.
No.
So it makes me wonder, was that person a local? Is there any kind of like manufacturing or anything going on in that town that people would be there, for a short time and then move on? Like, was there any kind of jobs like that or anything.
I mean, not that I would have known of. Like I said, the one guy, Stan, but he was with the highway department, so he would have been at least somewhat local.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no.
And the other thing is too, it's not like there was anything where, someone had come into the bank and was acting weird, or, there's no clues even
Well,
leading up to it.
They wouldn't have seen Angie anyway, because hers was
She was in the back.
And yeah, like in the basement.
Yeah, I guess when I heard she worked at a bank, I pictured her being a teller, and I thought, well, maybe it was a customer. But no, I mean, if that wasn't her job, that doesn't make any sense either.
Well, and I think the other thing is too, is if Angie would have recognized this person, even not knowing who they are or their name, she probably would have said something like, oh, I seen them last week, or
correct,
to give that identifier,
Yeah.
This was a total stranger. Yeah.
Yeah. And she knew a lot of people. She knew even more people than I did. So yeah, she would have definitely have said a name had she known one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or even said that she recognized the truck or something. Gosh, it's so scary.
It's terrifying
that there's people like that out there that just snatch someone up and then you never hear again, and you had mentioned those other people that had been found. I know, Dre, when I was looking into it, there was a couple, like maybe 3 women in that vicinity.
Well, you had Trudy Darby, which would have been January of 91. She was working at a convenience store and was getting ready to close up, and she said that 2 men were lingering, and her son came to the store less than 10 minutes later, and she was gone, and they found her body 2 days later. And then you had another woman, I think hers was in Nevada, which is about 72 miles south of Clinton. She was also working at a convenience store and closed up early, but she set the alarms, clocked out at 10. Her car was still in the parking lot. There was no sign of a struggle, indicating that she was abducted before even getting in her car.
Did they connect those two? Do you know?
According to Unsolved Mysteries and 2 papers, they claim that police made the connection to those 2. There was 2 brothers that were arrested for the murder of Trudy. 2 brothers. Well, they're half brothers. They were arrested in 94. According to this one newspaper article, the police department still believes that these 2 brothers are in connection with Cheryl Ann Kenny and Angie. But there's no evidence linking them to that.
And didn't one of those guys or both of them die? One of them died, I think.
One of them died. The younger brother, Jesse Rush, is still alive, but Cheney Marvin, he died in 2017. And his wife was actually his alibi the night that Trudy Darby was murdered. But she recanted and said she lied for him because she was in fear of him, because he was an abuser.
So they have they pressed the other guy for like info about Angie?
They have. He's bragged about it, said that he couldn't remember some of the women that they've abducted. He did talk about body dumps in Max Creek. I mean, there's a lot of like web sleuths and Reddit and YouTube. There's a lot of people that are tossing around ideas. I mean, they even have a guy that's not even from Missouri, a Civil War reenactor in Indiana, because they think that he might be tied to the Springfield 3. There was another guy that was in Kansas City, but he traveled around Missouri working at a carnival. They found him in 1992. He did abduct and murder 2 women in Missouri. There's so much potential as far as who it could be. But I personally, looking into this, I mean, I don't know that part of Missouri, but I know Missouri. You would really have to know that area. Like, really know that area.
Yeah, because we didn't have GPS then.
Mm-mm.
So,
No.
like, if he didn't know where he was going, that left bothers me.
Me too. I did not know that about the truck. I mean, because when you watch Unsolved Mysteries, they kind of portray it like he parks the truck to the side of the phone booth, and
Yeah.
Angie
I mean,
can
that's
see
what I'm
movement.
picturing.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that reenactment in that show because that's all I have to go on. But
Yep.
what I want to do is I want to pull up like Google Earth and look at that corner and look at the square and look at that area.
Yes.
I want to see what that area looks like myself.
Me too. Because I like I said, and you know, Kyla, that's the biggest thing for Jay and I. We want her story out there. It's almost 30 years this April, and I can't find anything recent, like within the last 2 or 3 years on her story.
There isn't anything. There isn't anything. Several years ago, they had like a little memorial thing on the Clinton Square, that her mom and everybody took part in. And there really hasn't been a lot of talk or anything since then. It's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that's what really made me decide yes, because if hearing her story again, if there's one person that hears it and knows something that maybe they didn't know they knew then,
Mm-hmm.
that could lead her family and myself to peace,
Yes.
I would jump at it.
I hope we can help. I hope that, you know, somebody sees this and knows something, because for the unsolved mysteries, you got to go back and really go back to season 1 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And to get that story.
Oh yeah, I remember when they were doing that. They say my name in in one of it, because they had actually, you know, inquired on whether or not I wanted to be in it or interviewed, and I didn't. But yeah, I
Rob did it though. Rob was in it. And
Yeah,
that
never saw
was
anything.
he?
He was at the search when they did the search. And then I know, you know, a little while into the investigation, I think things got a little
Hairy?
out of sync, a little hairy for him. And so he really started to back off, because I think he felt like, you know, the police were just focusing on him.
Yeah.
And so he really withdrew.
Yeah. So you feel like he's changed, like, since that happened?
Yeah.
It changed him. Did he get married and have kids, or?
He did get married. I think, in fact, I think he's on his 3rd marriage, if my
Poor
count.
guy.
And I know he has at least one daughter.
I did see that on Facebook. I saw that he had a daughter, and I just wondered how he was. You know, I really didn't want to grill him about, and maybe that's what he thought when he saw my message, like, oh God, she's going to ask me all these questions and I'm going to feel like a suspect again.
And that's probably true. Because I know that, you know, even over the years, whenever we've been back in contact with each other, we don't discuss the actual events. You know, we'll laugh about whenever he would change Angie's oil and my oil, and
you talk about the old times.
Yeah. You know, we talked about the fun that we had.
Yeah. It sounds like he's maybe just tucked that away too and doesn't know how to deal with it, and it's just affected his life and his relationships. It's really sad.
And it is. And I have to, you know, I also have to take a step back and think he not only lost Angie, but he lost a child.
Yes. Yeah.
And how old was he at the time? Same age? 20?
He's my age, so now
he was a year younger than her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at 19 years old, when that happened, he probably didn't even realize the magnitude of what he just lost.
No, but I mean, they already had sonogram pictures.
Gosh.
Oh.
How far along was she?
I think they
think-
said 4 months.
I think she was due in September. Sometime in September. I know she had to have been, because that's just the month that keeps screaming in my head. And I remember seeing the picture of the ultrasound, because, you know, they didn't look like they look now. That she had a boy, that she was going to have a boy, because she dreamed she was going to have a boy. So I've always thought there's a little boy out there somewhere.
She have a name picked out?
Not that I know of.
No,
No.
she hadn't gotten to that point yet.
No. And probably a good thing too, because, you know, that was heavy metal 80s hair band thing. So we our dog like Gunner, and
She might have named him Axel or something.
Axel Slash.
yeah. Who sang Sweet Cherry Pie?
Oh, Warrant.
Okay. So she went to their concert, and they had a cherry pie eating contest. Guess who was in the middle of that?
Her.
Her.
Oh my God, I love it.
Oh my God, she was so fun.
She was a ton of fun. Like we went to a ton of concerts. The last concert we went to was Heart. She took me for my birthday.
Oh.
Aw. Very cool.
Yeah,
You have a
Heart.
lot of good memories with her.
I do. I have a ton of them, and a ton of funny pictures and cards.
If there's any pictures that you want to share with us, we can put them in the video.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I'll dig through them. There's a Christmas card that I still have. And of course, on the front, it's like 2 bears and some presents. And of course, it was, you know, in the packages she wrote, you know, like Angie and Rob and Kyla and Larry, because, you know, we were in love. And you see, I can say that now with a big smile on my face. Yeah, we were in love. And in it, you know, she wrote me a thing, and we always had this toast, especially whenever we got to feeling really bad. Like, you know, we would drive down memory lane, what we always called it, which was past all of our ex-boyfriends or our past loves. We would drive by their house and toast them on whenever we were
love it.
feeling nostalgic
I'm sure you toasted them very
know,
nicely too.
right. And so we had a saying and a toast that we would always say at the very end, and it was really bad. So it was, here's to the men that we love, and here's to the men that love us. But since the men that we love aren't the men that love us, fuck the men, and here's to us.
Oh my God,
I
love it.
love it. That's great.
That was usually at the end. You know, we'd drive by, and it could have just been people that we had a crush on, and it was one of those, oh, there was a lost chance or a lost love, and, you know, take a big drink. And
That's the life of growing up in a small town. There's not much else to do. You got to get creative. You really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did. We got really creative. And that was like, you know, if the square was dead, quiet, or whatever.
Yeah, nothing to do, nothing going on.
We'd,
Yeah. You made your own fun.
Yeah, we'd do 300 miles lapping past our previous loves.
Wow. It's just crazy that that it was just like cut right there, you know, at that point in your life. It was just, and then all you have is like, what could have transpired from there?
It's one of those one kind of like an accident. 1 minute they're there,
Mm-hmm.
and the next minute they aren't. And you have no rhyme or reason. You have no closure.
But like you said, an accident, like you can at least in your brain process that this happened.
Yes.
And this is what happened.
Go to a place typically with a headstone and talk to them. And
That you have a funeral, you have closure, you get to say goodbye.
And in this case, nobody has any closure. I don't have a special place that I can go to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And
no justice.
No,
and no justice.
Not that that's solace, but at least someone is resting in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Or
that's huge. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. Because and even now, I'll see things on the news and I'm like, they busted sex traffickers.
You think, is she in there?
Was that going on then? Mm-hmm. Did that happen to her? What happened to her baby? Yeah. Did this person keep her alive until the baby was born?
Was she showing at that time? A little bit.
A little bit,
well,
yeah.
No,
She used to wear maternity pants, so she was just going to wear her pants unbuttoned the whole time. So, her pants were always unbuttoned because it wouldn't fit anymore.
Yeah, it was just belly, right? Just belly.
Yeah. So, I always have those are just questions that run through my head. Is there a child? Well, is there a 30-year-old out there right now that doesn't know?
Good question, because you don't know where he took her.
No. That's just it. There are no answers at all. And I look back at, just things in my brain. I look back at, my labor with my oldest daughter. Horrible. God, if she labored with this baby and no drugs and no nurse, no doctor.
Right. What did she go through?
Yeah. So, that's, I think the not knowing and the what ifs,
the worst part.
Yeah.
It's torture, basically,
it's
really.
Sad too, because it's like, if she's still alive, would you be able to you'd probably hear her voice and know it's her, but has she physically changed? You're thinking of that 20-year-old that you remember back in 91.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but they did like an age progression photo.
I did, yeah.
Which is crap. That's,
yeah.
I can't agree with that photo at all. Her face had a very distinctive shape. Her lip was very distinctive. She had a scar right in the middle of her lip, because we always laugh because mine's over on the side. Same bottom lip, but my scar's over on the side. Hers was right in the middle. But yeah, that picture wasn't, that's not what she would look like. So I hope, anybody that's looking at that isn't looking at that like that's what she's going to look like.
Yeah, I seen it too, and I was like, that to me doesn't look. There's no features. The cheekbones didn't look right. Her nose,
the eyes were wrong.
Yeah.
I think about the only thing that they may have had correct was the bottom lip, and that's an iffy. But yeah, she has her mom's features are very distinctive in Angie. So they should have
looked at her mom.
She would have looked more like Marsha looks.
Yeah.
They had the basic same build.
Wow. Now the other question too is the potential, because I saw in Reddit, I believe it was, they had said that after Rob wasn't able to catch up with the guy, he actually went down the road and a motorist picked him up, drove him over to the police station. They did a composite sketch of the supposed guy.
Yeah.
But they said he was wearing glasses, and the sketch doesn't have glasses.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Interesting. It's so crazy, because it's like, if I was police, I'd had one with glasses and one without, you know, like, was he an imposter? Did he really have a beard? Was it a fake beard? You know, like, did he dress up like this to disguise himself from the town?
Yeah. I mean, and that's, you know, I've seen all the articles and read most of them and things like that. I don't go back over them very often. Because I do like the good memories and the fun stuff that I would much rather, you know, those are my own personal archive of goods there. So I get a picture in my brain of what he looks like, that she was describing, whether that is factual or not. It's just, this is the way I feel what she saw. Kind of like with the truck. I know what's in my head versus what was on the Unsolved Mysteries show.
Yeah.
And they don't 100% match. But, you know, without evidence or truth or finalization to this, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the hard thing too, is the news sometimes gets it wrong and then it's misleading to other people. And that's my fear, because one moment they're saying it's a two-tone pickup truck that's green, and then the next minute I'm reading it's yellow and it's not an F-150, it's a Chevy. And it's like, those are imperative. That's imperative information for Angie's case, because there could be some person right now that just inherited a junkyard from an uncle that they didn't know they had, and that truck's sitting there.
Or somebody that knew their neighbor had that truck but never brought it out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's so many weirder things have happened. Huh? And that's where it's like, I really wish that we could get down to exact details of Angie's story, because anything, I mean, she could have had something on her person. You know what I mean? Like her ID card, or that money card, you know, the phone card.
Her keys, she didn't carry a purse, but her wallet, all of that was still in her car.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, and like the stuff to the bank was still right there. Because that was one of the theories very early on, that maybe they were trying to rob the bank.
The bank. Yeah, I did read that one. So she just had the money to call Rob on her person, and that was it.
No, chances are she charged it.
She used her mom's calling card.
Like, so alerts would go off. There's an Angela Hammond that at one time lived down by Warsaw, which is actually funny because she is either a nurse or a CNA also, because not so long ago she actually worked here. Because I went up to her and said hi and apologized that I'm sure every time she tries to write a check or use her card, if it's in the wrong area, they call her in.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. I remember her getting stopped in like Clinton or someplace because it had Angela Hammond on her check.
Wow.
Oh,
well, at least they were looking.
Yeah.
At least they were looking.
Exactly. But yeah, and then, you know, I came home for a baby shower with my oldest daughter, and people were calling the police about Marcia because Marcia had been seen buying a bunch of baby stuff. So people thought that, you know, they thought they had
faked it?
No, they thought that maybe Angie had just taken off and Marcia really knew where she was at.
Oh.
For me.
She was buying it for you.
Yeah, because when Brianna was first born and I came back to Missouri, Marcia and Donald would watch Brianna. I can't imagine what they were going through at that time.
Wow. You know, it probably helped them.
I hope so.
Probably helped them.
And like I said, I tried to stay in touch, but some of it is also very painful.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sure for everybody, it's like
And
that
that's your-
reminder, you know?
Your connection to her parents is Angie. That's your connection, you know?
Exactly. Well, and like I would go over to her grandparents and, you know, all of those kind of things. So, you know, just all of them together.
Well, like you said, it was like a second family to you.
Yeah.
But without her there,
Yeah.
like you said, nothing's the same. It's not the
No.
same.
It's not.
Like, how can you hang out with her family when she's not around? You know?
Exactly. Even though I want to be close to Angie, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Absolutely.
I went with her Aunt Kathy to a psychic.
How did
Years
that
ago.
go?
I couldn't tell you. I remember it was over in like the Brookside area, in some stone house building. And all I really remember of the whole thing is sitting at the lady's kitchen table. She said she felt like there was initials that would be the identifier of whoever this is, you know, like a
Like they go by like JC or JR or something.
Yeah. RG
Interesting.
or something. And beyond that, I know nothing about the rest of that visit.
You don't remember? You guys didn't record it?
Oh, no. No, this was still way back in the...
The olden days. This was still back in the olden days. That's interesting, though.
Yeah, I just remember Kathy asking me if I would go. She said she'll pay for it. Apparently, she had been one time before.
Now, who's Kathy?
Her aunt.
Her aunt. And she was close with her aunt.
Yeah, we would borrow Kathy's car. We may have wrecked Kathy's car. And
You might have. You might not have.
yeah, exactly. We might have actually been in the car when it was hit instead of not in the car, and it was parked when
Poor Kathy.
Yeah. Well, if you air that part, Kathy, I'm sorry.
Do you ever talk to Kathy now?
I don't. I have her on Facebook.
It's nice that you have that, though. Like, if you ever want to reach out, you have that connection.
Because, like, I have her uncle, Ronnie, on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, I have them all there.
So they see what's going on with you, and you can see what's going on with them.
Exactly.
It's nice that you can have that.
So yeah, I'm glad that you guys are very interested in Angie.
Yeah.
Like I said, since 2002, to even put her story back out there.
I don't know. There's a reason why it caught my attention, and I couldn't ignore it, because for some reason it resonated with me. And I think it's because you and Angie could be, you know, me and my best friend Heather, you know, like I can put myself in your shoes. And I think that's really what prompted me to like reach out to you, because I could have been you. I could have been her, and just being the same age and going through, I know that era you guys were in, and I was doing the same thing. So it really hit home with me, because it could have been any one of me and my girlfriends. And I would want their story to be out there. If there was still no answers, that would be like all I would want to do, is get their story out there. Get, you know, if there's one person, like you said, that's all it takes, is one person. There could be someone that was involved with this guy that didn't want to say anything at the time, and has put it in the back of his mind, and may hear something and go, you know what? That guy, I don't even talk to him anymore. And these people are still just struggling in life with no answers. So you might, you know, you just never know. And that,
when you go back over things, not so much to me anymore, because I struggle, remembering minor details. When you go over things, like when people hear this, it's that somebody that didn't know they knew something.
Mm-hmm. That too.
Yeah, like it triggers a memory. Like
Exactly.
we live our day like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like you get up, go to work, do your thing. You're not thinking, oh, I need to watch all these people driving by me to identify this vehicle in the future.
Right. And it's like that person in that truck had to go somewhere. They had to travel from point A to point B. Granted, it was at night, but there had to be somebody else that saw that truck. There has to be.
Exactly. That truck couldn't have circled around long.
They saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
They circled around and they were like, okay, she is by herself. Yep, there's no one else around. Getting the feel for the situation, getting a feel for what she was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was watching her.
And then, if I wouldn't have gone with Larry, I would have been sitting in the car while she was on the phone. There's just so many.
Yeah.
Now, ever since Angie said, like, her case has happened, has there been anything else that's came out of Clinton as far as, that would kind of relate to Angie's case, like any other disappearances or homicides? No. That was it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Have you ever spoken with the investigators that were initially on the case, and have they changed? Do you know? Have they changed hands in all these years?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely changed hands. Damon Parsons was one of the lead investigators.
You got it.
And I want to say there was a Rob, but I can't think of his last name.
Mm-hmm.
Was also one of them, because Damon and Rob were the ones that, when they brought us in for a polygraph, Damon was the one who told me that it indicated that I was lying in several places. And I said, is that where I was coughing? I had a really nasty cold at the time. And he didn't try to say that I lied after that, ever. Because I'm pretty much an open book. Like I haven't tried to paint pictures of myself and Angie as little innocent, great teenagers. We were rotten. We were rotten to the
Right. So you were up front. You were like, yeah, we were hooligans. We got into some trouble, but it was innocent trouble is what it sounds like to me. Like you guys weren't doing anything to harm anybody. You guys, it was all good fun, and you were just being kids,
Exactly. No, if we were harming anybody, it was ourselves.
Right.
With the amount we were drinking and some of the other things that,
you put yourself out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at that age, you're invincible.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. There was nothing that was going to stop us or hold us down.
And that took away all of you and your friends. It took away your innocence at that age.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to think back on some of my friends, because it seems like, for me, a lot of my brain is stuck
in that time.
And for them, it all seems like, their life kept going. That might not be the case, because I'm sure that looking at me, that's what it looks like too.
Yeah. Because they don't see your struggles.
No. And
your private struggles with it.
I try to only post things now, like her birthday on April 4th, the times that she's heavy on my mind.
Mm-hmm. Is there a Facebook remembrance page or find page?
There was an Angela Hammond page. Because there's stuff that's been posted on there, because Zach has even posted to her page, because it has an older picture, and actually Zach was in that picture, but he's cut out for her Facebook profile.
So Zach is how old now?
So 34.
Wow. Does he remember her?
I don't think he really remembers her. I think he remembers more of the stories that I've told him, that his mom has told him, that, you know, everyone told him, or, you know, the pictures. Because every time I see him, I still laugh about the woo woo, pull over. You know, we him as like date magnet.
Right. He was
definitely one of those kids that we could get to do the fun things like that, you know, stick your head out the window and holler at cars.
It's got to be neat for him, though, to be able to have the connections like he has with you, to hear about his sister. You know, like as he got older, I mean, because I know I lost his sister. I was 11 when she passed away. She was in a car accident. And I didn't know her as an adult. You know, I knew her as an 11-year-old, and she was 23. So she was quite a bit older than me. And she was, you know, the cool sister that let me come and stay at her apartment on the weekends and whatever. But as I got older, I was curious, you know, what was she like as a 23-year-old, you know, now that I'm older? And I actually ran into her boyfriend at the time at a bowling alley. I was married, had kids, and his nickname for me was Buns. And he was like, Buns. And when we went back to his house after bowling, it was a bowling league. I was like filling in for someone. It was weird. But we went back to his house. He had a bin of my sister's stuff and things of hers. And we got to sit and go through that. And I think for Zach, like being able to talk to you and you like tell him these stories of, we had you do this and we had you do that. And I bet that's awesome to him to have that.
I mean, I hope so. And, you know, every time I really see or talk to him, it's always one of those, if you have questions, ask.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, there'll be years that'll go by. And some of that I think is for everyone's sanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you can't live in that past, you know, always, but you're going to have your moments. And I think it's important. And I think it's awesome that I think Facebook is a great way for people to stay in each other's lives, but also stay out of each other's lives. You know, like you can go and check on him and be like, all right, Zach's good. You know, look at him. He looks happy, you know, like, and you can have some peace that knowing you're keeping an eye on him for Angie, but it's not an intrusive everyday thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy being able to see different things, and Marsha will pop up in some of the other people's pictures so that I can see that she's doing, you know, I worry about her. She had really bad nightmares for a long time. And as she gets older, it's like, I worry.
Mm-hmm. Well, you hate to see her get older and pass away and not have any answers. And have to pass away with that question mark.
Yeah, like Grandma and Grandpa, Marsha's mom and dad. That, you know, not knowing.
Yeah,
of course,
heartbreaking.
Like I say, if she's up there, say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
you know,
if you could just give me an arrow of a direction to go in, that'd be great.
Hey, I have no doubt that she's going to be waiting right there for you. And you guys are going to have another whole world of shenanigans.
Are you saying we're probably going to get kicked out?
Maybe. Maybe. But no, I mean, really, I appreciate you being so raw and open with us. And I know it wasn't easy for you. And I think that, you know, if we can help and at least just get her story out there, and at the very least, just let people know who she was.
Exactly.
Well, and let them know that somebody stole something from us that they had no right to take.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kyla.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Seriously, it was really nice to meet you. It really was. I'm glad you decided to do it.
Me too. Like I said, one person. That's all I need.